For those who seek adventure, this is the Buffalo Roamer Podcast, sharing the people, places, and moments that make a life on the loose worth living.
The thing that's going to stick out to you most is when they open up that plane door. The cold is something like you've never felt.
The jungle's so thick, even if you had a machete, you couldn't get through it.
There's a huge blonde grizzly bear. And when it saw us, this thing put its head down, stomped on the ground, and hissed like an alligator.
I just crossed this brutal stretch of desert, and I was really suffering.
I'm your host, Will Collins. I'm an adventurer, outdoorsman, and roamer of wild places. I've backpacked the Brooks Range, rafted the Grand Canyon, and have canoed from source to sea, both the Mississippi and Yukon rivers. I live for adventure, travel, fresh air, and diving into the unknown. And now, I hope to share my passion with you on the Buffalo Roamer Podcast. Rockin' and rollin', episode 68. Thanks for tuning in yet again. If you're enjoying the show, make sure you are subscribed. That way you'll get the latest episodes downloaded automatically. Also helps our show to grow. The more subscribers we get, so hit that button if you want to help us out. For those keeping tabs, no episode 2 Fridays ago when there should have been. That's because I was busy with the Buffalo Roamer guided trip out in the canyons of Utah. We just got back a little bit ago, and it was an absolutely amazing trip. A group of 6 of us went out to Utah for a 5-day canoeing trip. Just amazing, huge towering canyon walls, and it was a real blast. And we had Fischel paddles with us as well, canoe paddles, which is a sponsor of this fine program, Buffalo Roamer Outdoors. Greg Fischel outfitted the whole trip with custom Fischel paddles, and let me tell you, they're amazing. I use one all the time, so go get yours and feel the difference at FischelPaddles.com, makers of handcrafted wooden canoe paddles. That's F-I-S-H-E-L-L, Fischel paddles. I love those paddles. All made out of a solid piece of wood, and they did great for us on the trip in Utah, and I'm stoked to have them on our fleet of guided trips, all outfitted with Fischel paddles. Also, the show is brought to you by SRE Outdoors, SREgear.com, family outdoor gear shop in Black River Falls, Wisconsin. Check them out, search and rescue equipment as well, all kinds of good stuff. Any outdoor gear, SREgear.com. Okay, today's episode, Tim Brown is on the podcast. Tim Brown is an outdoorsman, an angler. He is a hunter, a fisherman, and a lover of the great state of South Dakota. He is one of my early fishing mentors. I don't know if I remember telling him that in the podcast or not, but I'll say it in the intro. I learned a lot from Tim Brown when I was living in the state of South Dakota and doing walleye fishing and just being an all-around outdoorsman. So I really enjoyed talking with Tim about the great state of South Dakota and outdoor opportunities there and just life as an outdoorsman. So without further ado, episode 68 of Buffalo Roamer Outdoors with Tim Brown. Tim, what's happening, man? It's been a long time no talk.
Yeah, it's been a minute since you moved out of the Dakotas, but good to be back with you, man.
Absolutely. I'm excited to talk to you, man. We're chatting a little bit here as we were having technical difficulties setting up, but yeah, good to catch up and excited to talk hunting, fishing, and South Dakota, man. The reason I wanted to have you on is a couple reasons, but one is because we became buddies when I was my 3 years or so living in Watertown, South Dakota, and every time I talk to people on this show or just like in general, and I'm like, oh yeah, I lived for 3 years in South Dakota. They're like, South Dakota, like, what the hell were you doing up there, you know? And what's going on up there? And then I always tell them, like, I'm telling you, South Dakota is outdoorsman's paradise. It's like, if you like to hunt and fish, it is, I can't think of many better places to be in the States than South Dakota. And I always get sideways looks. So, yeah, man, I'm looking forward to chatting with you. How you been, man?
Yeah, man. All's been good. You know, I've been busy chasing ducks, geese, fish around since you've been gone, just as we were when you were here. But you know, I can imagine, you know, you're talking to a lot of people from all over the country and not a lot of people have spent some time here in the Dakotas. It's a little different way of life, but it's the reason that we live where we live, right? Because like you mentioned, the outdoor lifestyle, it's hard pressed to find a place, you know, I guess depending on what you like to hunt or what you like to fish or pursue. But it's really the sportsman's paradise here, you know.
Break down South Dakota for me. I know you got East River and West River. I guess like break down the sportsman opportunities or just the outdoor opportunities from a broad perspective from somebody who might be listening to this being like, South Dakota, what are you guys talking about?
Yeah. So, you know, first and foremost, you know, my passion in life pursuing waterfowl, something that I've been active since my early ages, you know, and still today. You know, the Central Flyway pretty much funnels through North and South Dakota. It bottlenecks through eastern South Dakota. Like you mentioned, you know, the Missouri kind of splitting the state in half, right? So most of the waterfowl that comes through the Central Flyway squeezes in between Minnesota and the Missouri River right through here. So, you know, it's nothing to go an hour any direction, east or west, and you're into the thick of things, whether it's spring migration, fall migration, if you're wanting to hunt white fronts, Canadas, ducks, snow geese, which we're about ready to get ripping off here shortly. They're stacking up as we speak on the Missouri River in southern South Dakota right now. We've got a lot of snow right here, so like the dam's about ready to break. The temperatures are popping off this weekend. We're supposed to see some 40s. I've been seeing a few of these migrators, the tip of the sword, kind of peeking around here a little bit. You know, this winter's been hanging around a lot longer than normal, but lots of fun things to do here in South Dakota, right? Like waterfowl, I can go on and on about. It's definitely, you know, it's tough to beat anywhere you go. You know, we get pretty much most all of the.
What I think is interesting about South Dakota in particular, I mean, lots of states have this like a kind of a two-faced or like a two-toned aspect of it. So you got East River, which is going to be east of the Missouri River that, like you said, bisects the state. And that's going to be more your like rolling farmland,
agriculture.
Exactly. Agriculture. But then nestled up in that area. Okay, so in that area, we're thinking whitetail, ducks, geese, all that typical stuff. But upland, yeah, of course, pheasants, amazing, all that hunting. But then also within that section is the prairie pothole or the glacial lake section, which is Watertown, South Dakota, which is, I mean, how many lakes are there in that area? They're massive. There's thousands.
Yeah, I'd hate to venture. I mean, Minnesota claims to be like the land of 10,000 lakes, but like, I mean, if you throw all of our sloughs and potholes in that have fish in them, I think we probably outnumber the 10,000 lakes, because there's a lot of people that come out west from Minnesota to come out here and do fishing. And I travel east to go chase some fish out that way too. But we definitely have ample opportunities and lots of water.
It blew me away how much water is in that northeast South Dakota area. It's like, you know, if you drew a 100-mile circle from Watertown, South Dakota, I mean, I would think there's thousands of just big
easily.
Lakes too, big lakes that we're not talking like, you know, tiny little puddles or little ponds. Like we're talking big old walleye lakes. And
massive.
Oh man, the walleye and the perch and the northern there, it's just and the bass, it's just, I really do think they make them bigger in the Dakotas.
Yeah, we might have a smaller growing season because we have so much winter here compared to down south, where these fish can eat and stack calories and grow inches. But our fish live long, and they get girthy and lengthy over time. And it's relatively untapped. I mean, we do have some non-state, you know, out of non-resident pressure, so to say, and plenty of residents here. But you know, the opportunities, they're not shy, right? Yeah. There's usually a bite going. If you're in the mix of things and you know what's going on, there's fish biting somewhere, whether it's, like I said, panfish, all the way up to muskies, you know, and anywhere in between, right? Like whatever your passion is, you can get into it. There's a spot here in eastern South Dakota. Like you mentioned, the Missouri River splitting the state, you know, it's a completely different, you know, landscape, right? Like we got a lot of agriculture out here, a lot of water. So fishing hunting, anything that's living off small grains is really good. But you get out west, right? It's like it's going out west. It's like going to Wyoming or Colorado. We got mule deer, we got elk, we got antelope. So that's kind of the cool thing about living in the state of South Dakota, even though as a resident, where depending on what side of the state you live on, east or west, right? Like whatever's local to you and you grew up on, you cut your teeth on in the backwoods, chasing elk or mule deer or antelope or, fishing crappies and bluegills, just depending on where you grow up, you could still stay in the same state and pursue things that you would normally have to go out of state or out of where you live to hunt or fish. So that's one of the beauties of South Dakota. And with the migration, the waterfowl migration, funneling like an hourglass through the eastern half of the state, hey, if you like to shoot ducks and geese, swans, anything waterfowl goes. Here they are.
Yeah.
Just,
I love it.
Depending on what time of year you want to hunt them.
Yeah. And I agree. The West River, they call it, west of the Missouri River there. It's more of like that, like typical ranch land that you would think of versus the East River farmland. It's ranch land, more like what are those like the classic tumbleweed, like tumbleweed rolling down the hill. Mule deer, just completely different landscape. It's neat.
Lots of pastures. It's grazing. Ranching is the main avenue of economics out west, right? There's lots of ranches going on out there, lots of grazing going on. So in turn, we've got lots of mule deer and antelope out there that thrive and do well, when the conditions have it. This year's a little tougher than most. We've been experiencing an extremely long winter here in South Dakota this year, and we've had more snowfall and frigid temperatures than we've had in probably 5 or 6 years. Not to say we've gotten soft over those 5 or 6 years, but we've been kind of spoiled. And so have our wildlife here up until this winter. This winter we've been, really suffering through some long temperatures of cold, snow. Our animals are feeling it, right? Like a lot of our lakes right now, they're suffering with winter kill because we've got a little bit of ice and snow. Typically right now we're casting in waders on edges of shorelines that are opening up, or spillways and stuff that we got some moving water on. We're a long ways away from that right now. We still have 30 plus inches of ice and another foot of snow on these lakes right now. So unfortunately, we've been seeing a lot of these lakes starting to die.
We're talking right now, this is the beginning of April here in 2023. That's another one of the things, as though, although it might pain you for me to say this, looking at 6 feet of ice on the lakes in April, but the ice fishing, man, the ice fishing is just out of this world in South Dakota. When I moved out there, I had no idea about it, and getting engulfed into the ice fishing world, man, it was great. I miss it so much because here in Illinois, well, two things. First, the ice fishing was amazing, but also after moving from South Dakota, then I went to Montana, where it was also just bitterly cold, and then I moved to Illinois. And as a kid growing up in Illinois, I remember thinking that the winters were bad. And you hear people saying Chicago's a cold city and tough. And then, dude, it is nothing. It is nothing like the Watertown winters, man. I'm telling you. It doesn't even compare. It's like people are like, oh, it's a bad winter. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's like, it snows and then it's gone a few days after. But on the same note, because of that, we don't really have a solid ice fishing season here. So if you want to get solid ice, you got to drive like an hour or two north at least into Wisconsin to have like a solid season. Man, I miss the ice fishing in South Dakota. It's just epic up there.
Yeah, well, if you came over now, you'd probably still have like 6 weeks of good ice. I honestly think it's going to be May before, we'll be not able to drive four-wheelers or side-by-sides around on the ice. I mean, it is
not even till it's open, just not till you can't take quads out there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Shit. Yeah. You throw some 2x4s out and drive them out on the open edges, and you're still going to have some thick ice on a lot of these lakes right now. Cause like I said, we still have like 35 inches of ice, right? We got 3 feet of ice, and we got probably another 12 inches of snow on top of it. So we got 4 feet, right? And luckily this weekend is going to be like a second thaw. Normally, I mean, we got open water right now. We're looking at our second thaw, good thawing temperatures to where we're actually going to start melting some of this snow, seeing some ice melting off these lakes. So, it's easily going to be May. I mean, and actual ice off, right? Like you take your boat and turn her wide open and run her across any lake around here. Shit, you're looking end of May.
Brutal.
Yeah, I mean it's yeah, it's real.
It's the one of the things that I always think is funny though, and especially for people who aren't ice fishermen, is watching people drive a pickup or like a fully loaded ice shack onto the ice for the first time. It's like people in the South or whatever. It's like it's hard for people to comprehend that you take your pickup and you're hauling like a 5,000 pound trailer
call it a
behind
camper.
you. Yeah, exactly. A camper. You're trailing a camper behind you and you drive out onto the ice. You park it on the ice and you just sleep and hang out in the camper all weekend while drilling holes through the floor of your camper catching fish. It's the best.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, we call it ice camping here, right? Like we have sometimes 6 months of winter, depending on how early in the fall. And this year, like I said, it's going to be May before the ice melts, so we're probably looking at 6, almost leaning into 7 months of frozen water here this year. So you better grow to like ice fishing.
Yeah.
Because if you like fishing, it's the only way you can pursue it, almost half of the year is through an 8 or 10 inch hole, right? So how else can you make that a little easier to do? Well, you can get yourself a nice ice shack that, has some heat in it and the comforts of home. Ice Castle and Lodge, both, close to this area. Ice castles are made out of Montevideo, Minnesota, and Lodge houses are made right here in Watertown. 2 great houses, great companies that, they're really like campers on the ice, like you mentioned, right?
Yeah,
you got all the comforts of home.
Yours, you got, I love multiple things about yours, but yeah, and I assume you still got the same one, right?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, you got
Absolutely.
I love, but yeah, you got an oven in there, you got a TV, you got all the fixings you could possibly need. But of course, the coolest thing is the aquarium live tank that you got in the
right
in there. That thing is awesome.
We filled that up a couple times.
Yeah, anytime you catch a fish, you throw it in the live tank, and it kind of shows it off like an aquarium. Pretty funny.
Yeah, it's like a live well in your boat, right?
Yeah.
You just throw the bilge pump down one of the ice holes, flip the switch, start sucking water right out of the lake, fills it up. Same as your live well in the back of the boat, except it's got a plexiglass cover on the front of it so you can watch your fish and your bait. It's got a separator in there so you can watch them both, make sure they're staying oxygenated, doing well.
It's awesome.
Hey, yeah, it's some cheap entertainment while you're out there on the lake. Like you mentioned, sometimes we go out on a Friday night, might be there till Sunday or Monday before you pull off the lake. So, you got to find ways to entertain yourself out there other than just catching fish. It's nice watching them in there, I guess.
You bet.
My daughters get a kick out of it. They start naming fish, after a day or so. That's Frank. That's Will right there.
That's the best looking one. Hey, how did you get into the outdoors? Where did this passion all start from for you?
Yeah, I guess it goes back to my dad and my grandfather both getting me into the outdoor lifestyle. That started with pheasant hunting, upland bird hunting. My earliest recollections of being outdoors and pursuing game is pheasant hunting, right? Like opening days, always the third Saturday in October. Come hell or high water, that was South Dakota's opener when it comes to the Rooster Rush, which a lot of the country descends upon South Dakota because we are probably, in my opinion, the capital of pheasant hunting when it comes to pheasant hunting.
Yeah, that's kind of what people know of South Dakota for. When you say South Dakota and hunting, it's pheasant hunting, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a lot of pheasants here, and that's where I guess I cut my teeth when it comes to hunting is my dad and my uncles taking me out chasing pheasants when I was second, third grade, carrying my BB gun around there, walking through the sloughs that are, twice as tall as I am, or pushing shelter belts, kicking birds out for them. And happy to fire off my Red Ryder every time I had an opportunity. And, my grandpa or my dad telling me, "Oh, you got that one, nice shot." Like that just got me excited. And you just had this family atmosphere, right? All the uncles that were from Watertown that had moved out, kind of like you were here in town, and you make these connections, right? But the pheasant hunting is so good here that a lot of people come back just for that. You know, it's almost like a national holiday.
Yeah. And it's kind of that type of a hunt is unique too, especially for that type of atmosphere where it's kind of like it's like a group kind of social hunt, as opposed to different ways to do it.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people refer to it as like a gentleman's hunt,
Sure.
to an extent, right? Like you don't have to start hunting till noon. Like you can't on opening day, you can't start till noon. So you got plenty of time, right? To like meet your friends, tell stories, catch up. You're in no hurry. You get the dogs ready. You get your strategies in order of how you're going to walk this cornfield or this slough or the CRP. You've got everybody in place. You've caught up, and then you go do it, right? And you have a good time doing it. It's in Octobers in South Dakota are a great time of year, right? Because we suffer through a lot of winter months. In October, you're still looking at 60-degree temps. It's just beautiful. The colors of the trees are changing. The grasses are changing. The waterfowl are starting to roll in. You got cool, crisp mornings, but it's just a great time of year. So it's easy to see where a lot of people that grew up in South Dakota that may have went elsewhere for family or work or whatever has taken them throughout the country. That we just have such a influx right into South Dakota come October for that. And for me personally, as a kid growing up, and what really got me motivated to hunt and fish was upland bird hunting and those memories with the family and doing those things. And that stemmed into, as I got a little older and was able to start hunting with friends and realizing what the waterfowl had to offer here in the state too. And started doing that. And that's where that transition kind of started happening from the upland bird hunting to waterfowling, which led me into decades of chasing ducks and geese here through South Dakota, which you and I have done, a lot of that while you were here.
That's what I know you from, man. That's what I always knew as your passion. It's like all the other stuff. Obviously, you're an outdoorsman, right? So anything that any opportunity to get out there and be outside and enjoy the land and maybe take a little meat home to fill the freezer is going to be a great opportunity. But yeah, man, I mean, your passion, at least from what I remember, was always waterfowl, ducks, geese, snow geese, you name it. Like, man, you were an animal chasing all the waterfowl.
Yeah. We've got such long seasons, right, that we can do it. We have an early season that, depending on the health of the Canada goose population, and here in this state, we have liberal seasons that in August and September, we could start an early take season, they called it, before the regular waterfowl season, the federal waterfowl season takes place, which they only allot you so many days federally to hunt migratory game. So in any state. But so to kind of, get ahead of that and manage our local Canada geese that live here year round until they have to migrate south, they open some earlier seasons, right? So we could start hunting in the middle of August in through September, Canada geese only that are local residents that, cause problems, right? They're here all summer. They're feeding in a lot of these farmers' fields, and they're causing damage to their crops. So, they need to be managed just like all waterfowl, or I'm sorry, game, right? Like, as a conservationist, every upland bird or migratory bird or big game, or predators needs to be managed to an extent to sustain a healthy population, and same with our waterfowl local stuff. So we got seasons that start in August, where we can really chase and grind out these Canada geese. And then as the fall migration, as Canada starts to send them on down and these ducks are rolling through here, and these snow geese are rolling through here, and these migrants, dark geese coming through, and there's just lots of opportunity. And throughout that, it's tough to I guess pull away from that, right? Because it's a spectacle. There's a lot going on.
What? Two questions. One, what's your favorite? If you had to choose one waterfowl species to chase, what's your favorite? And then B, what is it about that? Like, what's the pinnacle moment of that hunt?
Sure. Yeah. Great question. Hands down, snow goose hunting, in my opinion, is the pinnacle of waterfowling. It's a volume hunt.
I don't think many people. Again, it follows the same notion of South Dakota in general. I don't think from a national perspective that many people even know about snow goose hunting.
Yeah, there's many flyways for snow geese, but the central flyway rolls through South Dakota here and Minnesota. But the bulk of it coming right through here, within an hour of Watertown, from here to, hour and a half west of here and east of here into Minnesota now. I mean, they all come through here, right? We got millions, as you've seen, millions when you were here, of snow geese rolling through here. So it's a volume hunt, right? Like when you're decoying snow geese and you get them tipping in by the thousands, and they're such a vocal bird, they're loud, they're aggressive, they're racing each other to get in and get on the ground and start feeding. So watching that out of your blind, and you've spent the time scouting this field, knowing this is where these geese want to be, and getting them to believe that this is legit, right? Like they're coming in, and this is a waterfowl species that is hunted harder than any waterfowl species ever, right? There is no other waterfowl species that you can hunt in the spring other than snow geese. In the fall, you can hunt any species that has an open season, right? As long as you have a healthy population, you might be able to shoot 1 or 2 ducks of certain species and such, but there isn't a species that you can't really hunt in the fall that rolls through. But in the spring, hey, let's unplug these shotguns. Let's get electric collars out. Let's throw down, no limits, shoot as many as you can. So when you get these birds that have been hunted literally from, the northern Canadian prairies in August, and they've migrated all the way down to the Gulf Coast, and they've turned around and come all the way back through before they hit the boreal forest, and they have to make their last leap back up to the Arctic tundra, to hatch the next year's crop.
Crazy.
They're hunted, right? They're hunted the whole time. And even honestly, even when they're there, the Inuit are hunting them, right? They're in like primitive ways, right? Like they're gathering eggs. They're like, collecting meat, they're hunting these birds when they can't fly, because that's the way of life. So these birds are always being hunted to some extent. Obviously, the pressure up there is nowhere near what it is in the States or Canada for that matter, but this is a species that's always hunted. So anytime that you can get these birds to commit and believe what you're selling is the real deal, and for them to come in with reckless abandon and just put their feet down and land at the tip of your blind, where it's hard to beat. There's such a loud, vocal, visual hunt that unlike any other waterfowl, which don't get me wrong, I love ducks and geese, whether it's, waters, calling single mallards on the water or getting, thousands of them come into the cornfields, or Canada geese or, tundra swans. It's all fun in its way, but for me, the pinnacle is definitely the snow goose. It's a volume hunt. It's a vocal hunt. It's a visual. It's a visual hunt that you just can't.
It's
can't
insane. I couldn't comprehend the numbers of the flocks until I went out there and was scouting and hunting with you. I mean, just the numbers of birds in these swirls, this massive tornado. Like the only way that I could like describe it would be like Nat Geo, like some of those bait balls in the ocean, you know, where it's just like a huge volume of minnows and they all kind of move as one a little bit. It's like that, but in the prairies of South Dakota, filling the entire sky, just tens of thousands of birds. And it's just insane. And so tell me about the no limit. Why is there no limit? And it's labeled as a conservation hunt. Give me the background behind that. Cause it's full bar, take as many as you can. Like you said, no plugs in the shotguns, as many rounds as you can get. Fill me in on that.
Yeah. So when you talk about these bait balls in the oceans that these predatory fish are feeding on, you can relate that to what snow geese look like. You know, we call them warships, right? When you see these fields, like half-section cornfields, blow up with geese, right? They just erupt for whatever reason. A bald eagle flies over looking for crippled and sick, wounded snow geese, and the whole field, lifts, or a truck drives by and spooks them, what have you. But when you're driving, we're in the prairie pothole region, and it's relatively flat here. So when these big feeds get up off the ground, they'll blacken the sky, right? Like if you're close enough to them, you can't see through them. That's no shit.
It's insane.
You can't see through the birds that blacken the sky if you're close enough. Now, if you're a few miles back, hey, then all of a sudden you're looking at the horizon line. It's beautiful. And here's this, what we refer to as warships, right? It looks like a warship on an ocean, right? Like what's lifted up and it's moving across the horizon. Like, holy cow, there they are, and when the spring migration is rolling through here and we got them by the millions here, at any given time, you could look, within a 10 miles, you can see, and you might see 2 or 3 of those lifting up around. So there's lots of birds when the timing is right and the snow lines line up, that you can pursue. But because the population has gotten so large since 1999 or 97, actually, they started a spring conservation season for snow geese. So it started with, hey, let's allow hunters to take snow geese in the spring. Let's put a 20 bird limit on it, and let's see if we can disrupt this bird's migration north to its breeding grounds, right? And let's hopefully we can take some and send them up there in a state where that maybe they won't have the best nesting success because this population of birds is doing so well and it's causing so much destruction in its nesting area. And the tundra has such a short window of growing season, right? Like, so all the animals that live there year round that have to sustain off of the nutrients in the soil and the plant growth, when these snow geese roll in, they're a grubber. So they don't just eat what grows up off the earth. They rip out what these, the root system of these plants. And because the growing season is so short, it takes like 10 years to recoup the damage that these flocks have done, these colonies, right, of millions of snow geese have done. So back in the late 90s, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service decided, hey, let's have a spring conservation season on these birds, and let's try to slow down their roll here a little bit.
And they call it that conservation season because it's trying to. It seems counterintuitive, doesn't it? But it's trying to get the population back into a healthy state.
Exactly. That's exactly what they're trying to do. And so since then, at that point in time, they allow the spring season, which still to this day, there's no other waterfowl that you can hunt. Here we are 20 years later plus since the onset of this spring season, and there's still no other waterfowl that needs this kind of management. And we still are, honestly, from the studies that I've read, we're just putting a drip in the bucket, right, of what we're actually accomplishing in the spring as far as the management take and how much harvest we're having. We're definitely, doing a part in slowing that. But Mother Nature does a way better portion of controlling the actual population of these birds. But, hey, we're helping. It generates, wealth and that stimulates the economies and all the central flyways these birds are rolling through, which is good for everybody along the country, but and these birds in general, right? There's just everything needs management, but so they've gone to some liberal limits, right? So it started with 20 birds in the springtime that you could take. It's now unlimited. So shoot until you have no more opportunity to take birds in that given day. And they're a smart bird, right? It's not like they don't have any pressure. They have lots of pressure, and they're hunted so heavily through their migration that they're hard to decoy, which makes them that much more rewarding when you do get them to decoy because of how smart of a bird they are. So there's not many days you really beat on them that hard, but there is days when the stars align and the weather and the migration that you're dealing with and the conditions that, hey, you might be able to shoot them. Each guy might be able to go out there and shoot 50 to 100 of them a day individually. You and I could go out and shoot 200 on the right day, just the two of us.
Get the shells. Don't forget your shells, boys.
That's right. Bring a case in the morning. You need all 250 rounds because there's days you shoot more than that of ammo. I mean, you get
and it's a conservation hunt.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot of fun. And so you got to take those days when you get them, right? Because there's a lot more days that are the other way.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Where you sit out there and you shoot 5 to 15 of them a guy,
The other thing about waterfowl hunting, but snow goose hunting in particular is, you're chasing these migrations and going out with you and scouting with you. It's... at first it was kind of like, I don't understand how you do it. Like, how do you, scout for these birds? It's like, well, you get in the car and you go drive 50 miles one way and you look out the window for 1 million birds in the field. And when you see 1 million birds in the field, you're on them.
Yeah. I mean, when you say it like that, it's like anybody could do it, right?
No, but it's time. It's time. It's boots on the ground of driving around because, you could have 1 million birds there at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, but, at 7 p.m. on Thursday, there ain't 1 million birds there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, it's Will here. I want to take a moment to let you know about our show sponsor and partner, Fischel Paddles, makers of fine, handcrafted wooden canoe paddles. I spent a lot of time paddling rivers and lakes, and Fischel paddles are the best canoe paddles that I've come across. I use the Ray Special model myself, and I outfit all the guided trips that I run with Fischel paddles too, because I think they're the best. Each paddle is handmade by Greg Fischel at his shop in Flagstaff, Arizona, from a single piece of wood. What I love most is the shape and feel of the paddle. Other than being beautiful and efficient, it puts less strain on your shoulders and arms than a typical paddle would, while actually giving you more control and finesse with each stroke. Plus, the shape of the blade just feels right cutting through the water. All paddles are customizable from the type of wood, whether that's cherry, ash, or maple, to laser engravings, and my favorite, which is the leather strap that Greg pins around the shaft so that it doesn't get beat up as you run along the gunnels, prying off or doing the J-stroke in the back of the stern there. So go get yourself a Fischel paddle now and feel the difference. Use the code WILL at checkout. That's WILL to get a free wooden paddle hanger with any paddle purchase. That way you can show off and organize that new handmade paddle. Check them out at FischelPaddles.com. That's FISHELL paddles.com. Fischel Paddles, handcrafted wooden canoe paddles.
I've got a 2002 Honda Accord that I bought just for scouting geese, right? Like, hey, I want something that I can beat on the road on these gravel roads here in South Dakota to put on the miles at $4 a gallon gasoline to find these birds, right? And then when you find them, I mean, is there 1 million of them in the field? No. Is there millions of them in an area? Absolutely. You can definitely pull up on, a couple 100-mile area, or not even, probably a 50-mile area, honestly, that, depending on the bodies of water around and what the snow line is doing at that point in time, they can definitely stack up some big numbers, and it can seem like you can do no wrong, right? Because you look everywhere and there's geese everywhere. But these geese, they're hunted so heavily that they're used to hunting pressure that you need a little bit of lady luck on your side, right? You got to have the weather that you need. You need to have some wind, right? Because these birds, when they decoy, they need motion in the decoys. So if you're out on a day where there's no wind, your decoys are not moving, and you've got snow geese, when they come to a feed, they're expecting an aggressive bird who is he was running through the field looking for that next piece of corn or soybeans to beat the bird on the ground next to it, right? They're aggressive. So when these birds come in to your decoy set, if they don't see this movement, they're already like, oh, the gig is up, right? And that's why, you know, the younger birds in the flyway, you know, the 1 and 2 year old juvenile birds, those are the ones that most decoy hunters have the most success on, because they don't have the most knowledge. Like these birds that can literally live, these snow geese are living 20 years.
Holy cow,
right?
really?
Yeah. The oldest waterfowl band I have is an 18-year-old snow goose band.
Holy
right?
cow.
Like,
and so, and where was it from? Alaska?
No, it was banded in Texas on its wintering ground.
Huh.
So they band them on their breeding ground in the tundra, and they also capture them in their wintering grounds too. And this particular one was in Texas, but that was 17-year-old band. There's been bird bands reported way older than that when it comes to snow geese, you know, mid to low 20s. I mean, this is a bird that, you know, it travels in such big flocks that, a well-trained eye when it comes to life or death matters, which it is to these snow geese, right? They're migrating and they're always looking for predators, whether it be, you know, coyotes or skunks or, you know, whatever's harassing them naturally, and the hunter.
If you're coming in, if you're coming into a field and you see Tim Brown in the blind at the last second, you better believe that's a life or death situation for that snow goose.
Yeah, you better start backpedaling.
Yeah,
because we're coming out of the blinds, you know. And you mentioned, you know, hey, we got liberal seasons with no limits, but they also allow unplugged shotguns, but they also allow extensions on your shotguns, so you can screw on extensions to your your regular 4 or 5 tube magazine tube on these guns, and you can put 12 to 13 rounds. Some guys even go to the lengths of putting drums that you can fit 25 rounds on these X-rails.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, I mean it's sky's the limit, right? Because it's an unplugged gun. There's no limits, which is another fun factor of these birds. You know, like you just shoot till you've had your fill. You know, if they're doing it right, and those days they're doing it right. You know, we've had hunts where you can shoot 100+ birds per guy. You know, and it just depends on how many guys you have in the field. And when the stars align and those days are happening, you know, you just really appreciate that hunt and the snow goose and the excitement of hunting them, right? Like
totally.
There's no other waterfowl that can do it in a way that they do it, with as loud and as volume and as in tight and close as a snow goose can decoy when the stars align and you got them. You know, the scouting's paid off. When you mentioned earlier, what do you look for, right? You're looking for, you know, where these birds are roosting, to where they're feeding, and the wind direction to be conducive to where they can't hear you shooting, but still close enough to the roost where they can continue to come while you're hunting them without them knowing that they're being hunted where they're feeding. And hopefully, you know, you can continue to cycle that through, right? So they come to the feed, you shoot them, they go back to their roost, you know, they just settle down a little minute, you know, maybe half hour later that flock comes back out, and you just continue that rotation. And it's such a volume species that you might have 10 to 20,000 birds on any given roost or more. And as that cycle keeps going, as long as that train doesn't get derailed and they start going to a different field and feeding elsewhere, and they're still coming to you, you know, it's
the limit.
The opportunities just keep coming, and it can make for a really good time.
When the stars align, though.
Right. There's those days they're not every day.
Yeah, that's the cream of the crop.
Yeah, and that's why if you book if you're going through an outfitter here in the Dakotas or anywhere for that matter through the Central Flyway, when you're hunting snow geese, best thing you can do is, if you're a traveling hunter, right? Like you don't have the time to scout for days leading up to a hunt. You might not have, you know, 1,000 to 2,000 decoys and the electronics and the blinds and everything you need to be a traveling hunter, right? Like, hey, we all love to hunt, and we're really good at hunting and fishing what is close to us. But if you have a passion to pursue that elsewhere and experience that, you're not going to just go out and buy, 1,500
Right. Yeah,
snow
it's
goose decoys
unrealistic.
and all the electronics and all the gear that it takes to go experience it. So I always recommend, and that's the thing. I've kind of cut my teeth too, guiding throughout the years and working for different outfitters and myself. But you should always plan when it comes to snow goose hunting. You should always plan like a minimum of a 3-day hunt, because it's so indicative of the weather. You need to have wind, you need to have sun. And if you don't have that on any given day, if you go out one day, you could literally shoot nothing. And you could have 50,000 geese fly over you.
Oof.
and not shoot one.
Yeah.
Like you could, I mean, it's
I've had
beautiful,
that day.
right?
I've had that day. Yeah. Clear day, and they're just high and not coming in.
Yeah. Yeah. You just I mean, the skies are alive the whole time. There's geese everywhere you look, morning to dark, they're all around you, but the gig's up, right? Like they just know, because they know they've seen it 100 times. They've seen it 10 times this week, maybe more, depending on where they're at in that particular time as far as the pressure and the decoy spreads that are in that area. They know. So when they see it and they know it's not right, you're not even breaking a wing beat. These birds are just flying through. You don't even lock up for a second to look down at you and go, oh, maybe I should. Nah, they're just gone.
How about big game? I know last time we talked, you said that obviously you've always done big game and chased whitetail and muleys out in the West River. But last time we talked, you said you'd transitioned a little bit more away from waterfowl towards the big game. Is that still the case?
Yeah, it's just because the scouting that we talked about when it comes to waterfowl, you can't just go hunt them, right? Like you get off work at 5 o'clock and you want to go shoot a duck or a goose. Well, that's cool. You're going to have to jump in your pickup truck. You're going to have to go find a place where they're feeding. You're going to have to secure permission where that is. And then you're going to have to wait for the wind and the weather to be conducive to where they're roosting and where they're feeding. And that all to align to go and hunt. And if that's the next day, great, but it might not be, right? They might be roosting so close to where they're feeding that you have to wait for the wind to switch out of the north or the south or the east or the west. And if the wind is consistent for the next 3 days, even though you might have permission to hunt that field, it isn't worth your time hunting that field, because those birds, the first time you rip a shell off at the first lot coming up, the whole roost is gone because they hear you. So, just as life has kind of progressed for me, as most people, careers and families, start to take over more of your life, it's harder to find that time to scout 5 days a week.
Yeah.
To make sure you're hunting every morning or every other day.
You guys were an animal with the scouting back in the day. The whole network of crew you guys had. It was like it was literally like a part-time job, if not full-time. It was like every day of the week there was somebody with rubber on the pavement, like trying to find ducks or geese.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's what drives the success when it comes to waterfowl hunting is, you and I, the two of us, we could go out and spend 3 hours after work looking for a field to hunt. And hey, there's a lot of people that hunt here, locals, and there's a lot of people that have family that hunt. So just because you might find a field that has some ducks and geese in it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be able to hunt them, because, the guy who owns the ground might have a son that hunts, or, an uncle or a friend or family or maybe they hunt themselves. So, the likelihood of you and me going out and finding these spots might not be great, but if we got 6 or 7 of us and we're out putting 3 hours on a night, now we got, anywhere from 18 to 24 hours of man hours on the gravel scouting these birds. Pretty good chance that one of these 6 or 8 trucks is going to come up with a field. And if we don't come up with a field, maybe we get permission and the wind isn't right for the next day, but on Friday, maybe the wind is going to be right, so we got permission for it, and we're going to wait, right? Because there's no sense in blowing that up today when we know on Friday we could really have these birds in our face and have a really good hunt. So it just takes a lot more when it comes to the time and preparation for a successful waterfowl hunt. And not to say that, a big game hunt doesn't require a lot of time and preparation and scouting, but once you start putting in that time into big game hunting, now when you have time to go out and you get off work at 5 o'clock, right, and the tree stands that you've hung this summer and the game cameras are telling you that, this is the deer's movement, and the scouting that you've done maybe in a year or two of hunting a particular property, and you start to understand where these deer are living and feeding and their travel routes to and from, that, hey, you get off work at 5:00, you can go hunt. Like, it's not a scout anymore at that point in time, right? Like, you can hunt. So it's just a natural progression for me, and with my family, and I've got 2 daughters that are a big part of my life, and they're excited about hunting and fishing, and I take them every chance I get. And just big game has become more of a conducive way to hunt.
Sure.
With my time schedule. Not that I don't love hunting ducks and geese, and I take every opportunity I can, but it's definitely something that I've transitioned a little more into as I've aged.
And what are you typically doing in a season? I know back in the day you would always do a West River trip for mule deer, and that was more of like a spot and stalk type hunt. And then you have your deer stand here in East River as well. Is that still kind of the general game plan?
Yeah, with some out of state stuff going on too, sending in for different big game species. But, like you said, West River, even though it's here in South Dakota, as a resident, I can draw a tag for, archery tag every year as a resident, and maybe every 1 to 3 years as a resident over at West River. But spot and stalk, it's a whole different animal. Around here when we're hunting deer, the best way to do it, if you're bow hunting, is an ambush situation where you're hanging tree stands. You get to learn these deer's behaviors and where they're traveling to and from, and the best times to be in those spots. Where out west, man, the hunt's on, right? From dawn to dark. Like, you get out, you get the spotting scopes out, you get a good vantage point. You can see for miles. You find these animals, once you find one that you're after in particular, now the hunt's on, and you spend, the course of the next week or better trying to focus on these animals and catch them, where they're bedded, and you can get in and spot and stalk with bow or rifle. Like I said, every 2 to 3 years you might be able to draw a tag and get in on it with a gun. But it's like going out west, right? It's like getting a Colorado or a Wyoming tag to hunt a species that we don't have around here. So it feels like you're doing a traveling hunt,
right?
Which is exciting, right? We don't have antelope. I can't see them every day. Same with mule deer or elk, but we have them out west. So that's the nice thing about living in South Dakota. As a resident, you can get a tag, you can hunt them, or at least every 2 to 3 years, you can get them opportunity to hunt them with a rifle, which obviously enhances your odds. But so yeah, definitely, always plan, some time out west every year here in South Dakota. Plan some time around the rut here in East River. Utilizing the game cameras and scouting in the field and that time to try to turn the tables in your favor the best you can.
So when I was out in South Dakota, so I first moved to South Dakota in 2016, or no, it would have been I think it was 2015 is when I moved to South Dakota, end of 2015. And at that point, I'd always been a fisherman. I'd always been a diehard angler, but had never really gotten into hunting. And, was a backpacker and, loved paddling and canoeing. But it wasn't until I came to South Dakota and started hanging out with you and a couple other folks that the hunting and fishing aspect, light bulb really clicked, where it's like, you said the same before, and I've heard it a million times too, but 10% of the fish or 90% of the fish live in 10% of the water, right? Right. So you have a massive lake, but unless you're fishing in the right area, you ain't going to catch fish, or you might catch one here or there, right? That's what makes the difference between the weekend angler and somebody who's an actual fisherman, is the guy who understands where the 10% of that fish are. And having that light switch click in my head of being an observer of nature, of being a hiker or a mountain biker or something, to being a participant of okay, I got to understand where the walleye is going to be at and why. It's like, is he going to be in the in the depth because it's super hot right now and the water's cold down there, or is he going to be coming up to the shallows at nighttime feeding on some minnows, or where are the perch going to be? There's a topography, there's a drop here or whatever it might be. And there's so much nuances in that, and it like opens up like a whole new not new to you, I guess, but like a new way of looking at nature that I think a lot of people who don't appreciate like hunting and fishing can miss,
Absolutely. I mean, you watch the stuff on the Outdoor Channel, or you got a friend or a family member that likes to hunt and fish, and you see some of their pictures, or hear some of their stories, right? Their experiences, and you create a narrative in your own mind of how that happens, and you just think, oh yeah, I grab my gun, I'm going to head out in the field, I'm going to find the deer, I'm going to shoot that deer, or I'm going to go to the lake. I got a lake just down the road from me. I drive by it every day on my way to work, and there's boats out there fishing. I see them, right. And those guys are out there catching fish every day, right? Like, but that's to be successful, as it's narrowing down whatever the species is that you're trying to pursue, whether it's a fish or a pheasant or a deer or an elk, antelope, whatever. There's a lot of time and man hours and understanding their behavioral aspects of that game that you're pursuing and the time of year that you're trying to catch them, right? And then catching them when they're susceptible to you being there. That's what's so rewarding. I guess, like anybody can go out to their local pond, and throw a line and maybe get a bite and catch a fish. And hey, to a lot of people, that's a lot of fun, and man, I got respect for anybody who pursues the outdoor lifestyle in any aspect, right? If it's going down to the local pond in the middle of town and catching a handful of fish, or if it's traveling to another state to pursue a fish, or another country to pursue a big game animal or any species, like whatever that is, right? Like it's important to everybody. But to be really truly successful, and a lot of people that are passionate about whatever it is they're pursuing, the time of scouting and in-depth analysis of that bird or that animal's behavior, and to be successful in taking and harvesting that game, and not only harvesting that game, but getting that to be to a level of, not only did I shoot a couple ducks today, but we got our limit of ducks, and hey, not only did we get our limit of ducks, we shot all Drake mallards, or not only did we shoot our limit of snow geese today, we shot all eaglehead blues today.
And on top of that is the next level is understanding why. It's like we weren't just like trolling around, or we weren't just like you didn't just
dumb
like
luck.
Yeah, exactly. You didn't just sit down in a slough that happened to be next to a roost or something. It's like, no, I knew that this day last week it was going to be on. The wind was in the right direction. There was a slight chance of precipitation, which could obscure their view, and there's just so much that goes into it that is just it just goes over, which I guess is understandable, but it goes over folks' head who I guess don't have the same appreciation or the same passion, which I guess makes sense, right?
Yeah, right. Like if you're into it and the extremities of what it takes, then you understand. But if you don't, and you at an arm's reach, like you have an understanding of what happens, but you don't necessarily understand how it happens.
Yeah.
You can't appreciate those small details. But when you do, and it all comes to fruition, man, is it exciting. There's no topping it, when you're talking about understanding what could happen and the possibilities, a hunt that comes to mind for me personally, about 10 years ago, I had a snow goose hunt, that the night before scouting it, I knew that we were in a really good position to capitalize on taking a lot of snow geese the next morning. We had a situation where in the springtime, there was a reverse migration happening to where the birds had passed through the area here in South Dakota where I'm at. Big blizzard happens up in North Dakota, pushes a lot of these birds back, and they just got jammed up right in this spot, and there was birds everywhere. I mean, which can happen a lot when you're hunting snow geese. But in this particular situation, it didn't matter what field they were in. Like they were standing in pastures, they were eating beans, they're eating sunflowers, they're eating corn, they're standing on the gravel roads where there's no snow. Like, I mean, they're everywhere. And there was, the way the particular hunt laid out, there's a couple roosts in similarity to the feed that they were feeding in that I knew we were going to see a lot of birds in the morning, and they're calling for some wintry, blizzardy conditions the next day. So, I called a small group of guys and told them, hey, we're going to have a great hunt in the morning. It was during the middle of the week. You need to take work off. You need to call your boss. You need to tell him
I ain't
that
feeling too good.
Yeah. Right.
I got the black plague.
It's the plague, Paul. The plague. Whatever you need to do, or burn a day vacation, whatever. You need to be here because this is going down. And not only do you need to be here, but you need to bring a case of shotgun shells with you in the morning. Don't come with any less than that, because you're going to need every box. You're going to need 250 rounds of shotgun ammo. It might not be enough, but don't come with less than that, right? If you shoot 250 rounds through your scatter gun in the morning, you're going to feel pretty good about the day.
Your shoulder won't, but you will.
Right. So, that was the situation on that particular hunt, like understanding how the birds are feeding, how they're roosting, what the migration has done to them and how it's bottlenecked them and what the weather was going to do. And it panned out as such. 5 of us sat down and shot almost 800 geese before 12 o'clock that afternoon. Right. I mean,
and what conditions is it? Is it like snowy and like overcast, nasty, or is it like, kind of decent weather with a little wind? What conditions?
Yeah, we're looking at like they're calling school off in the morning kind of blizzard.
Right.
It's snowing sideways. It rained the night before, so all the highways are covered in ice. And then as the sun came up, it transitioned to snow, where the night before there was no snow on the ground. Everything is, 100% melted off. To the next morning, you got a couple 2 to 3 inches of snow that's fallen and it's blowing, and roosts are within a half mile of the field. And these geese, they just, there's so many in the area that have to feed, and that's what they do. They don't want to sit on the roosts in conditions like that. They want to be feeding. So if you're out and, you can hide and present yourself in a way that they believe what you're showing to them through your decoys placement and the calling that you're showing them, and your ability to hide your blinds and your hunters to where they just come in and believe everything you're selling, to where they're 5 feet away from you when you start shooting, and you got an unplugged shotgun that you and your 5 buddies got 60 rounds at any point in time. If 60 birds come in and they're close, like you can do some damage before they can get out of range, to the point to where you get so many dead in front of you that the next flocks that are coming won't decoy anymore because there's so many dead geese on the ground.
Got to clear them.
Yeah, right. You're like, all right, boys, we're not getting them at 10 feet anymore. We're getting them at 30 yards. So now everybody just, we're going to blow the next 2 flocks, but let's all run out there because the dogs can't keep up, right? When you're shooting them 15 to 20 a flock, they can't keep up. So let's go. Everybody grabs, 10 geese a piece, and you come back with 60, 70 of them, clean up the hole, and now they're back to decoying again, and you set the deal. And it's as exciting as it gets. Those days are not that.
Yeah. That's what
common, but when you do, that's what gets you wanting to go back and pursue that bird and that hunt and chasing that migration. It keeps you after it, right? It's just,
that's what all other snow goose hunts are measured up against, right?
Yeah, absolutely. How
about fishing? I love to fish, man, and I know you do too. Where does fishing play into your hierarchy of passions, and what do you like to chase when you're fishing?
Yeah, well, as we were kind of catching up before we got on here, here in about a month, I'm headed down to Florida to chase tarpon.
That's right. That's going to be awesome, man. I'm going to have to hear how you do.
Yeah. Can't wait to hook up on a couple of those, and experience that trip. That'll be new to me, but it's been something I've been thinking about for a few years now.
That's sick.
Yeah, light them up. Absolutely. So, excited to do that. But, here in South Dakota, we've got lots of kinds of fishing to be done, whether it's panfish, predatory fish, being your walleye, your northerns, your muskie, bass, smallmouth, largemouth. I personally, I guess, probably chase walleye most often while I'm fishing. But I, at times like to chase muskie or chase northern pike, bass, perch in the wintertime. You and I have spent quite a bit of time on the lakes.
Oh yeah, those
ice fishing perch.
Jumbo South Dakota perch, man. That stuff's no joke. They make them big.
They do. Them slew tigers, you hook up on the right one, you see a 15-inch perch. Those humpbacks are they'll get about anybody excited when you lay hands on one of those.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that's where we're at right now, right? We should be getting to late ice right now. But like I said, we still have 3 feet of ice. We should be looking at 2 feet of ice or less traditionally this time of year. But we're going to be, for the next 30 days here, we're going to be approaching ice off here in South Dakota, which typically is the best time for perch fishing, to catch big perch, right?
Jumbo perch.
Pre-spawn perch that are going to be their heaviest, girthiest time of year. So looking forward to doing some of that. Snow geese are rolling in right now. Southern South Dakota is kind of stacked up right here. We're just starting to see a few flocks poking around, but that dam is about to break here in the next week. We're probably going to see a pretty good influx of birds. And we should have them around for a while because of the snow line that we have. We've probably got a good 30 days of having snow geese around us here. But back to fishing. I'm excited to get the waders on.
Love it. What's your favorite way to fish? Because I think when I'm fishing in South Dakota, there's a million ways to fish, right? But if you're walleye fishing, it's a little more finite than the entire fishing world. But so basically, you got what? Casting, trolling, bottom bouncing, slip
bobbers.
Yeah.
Ice fishing.
Right.
There's lots of ways to go about it. Top water, bottom bouncing, middle of the water calling, fishing suspended, live bait.
What's
plastics.
your ideal day chasing walleye? What's it look like? How are you doing it? Where are you at? And what kind of walleye are you catching?
Yeah, well, for me personally, like my favorite time to catch walleyes is in the spring. You don't need a boat. Right. So it makes, when you were talking earlier about the fish in a lake being on 10% of the water, right? Well, spring is a great time for that. It's putting a lot of these larger walleyes into moving water where they're going to do their spawning. So any tributary that you got dumping into a lake, if a river's coming in or spillways coming in or a culvert's coming in off of a slough or some runoff or whatever's happening, you got moving water on a lake. You can go there in the springtime and have yourself, a pretty good time catching walleyes or pike. And you never really know what you're going to catch, right? Because they're all there. They're all searching for that water. And that's my favorite time probably. I've had to pick one throughout the whole year to fish walleyes is that early ice off, putting the waders on. It's hand-to-hand combat, right? You're in it. You're standing in the water waist deep. And some of the time these fish will take the line right at the tip of your rod at an arm's reach, and you got an explosion of fireworks of this fish just letting off right in front of you, or they might catch them 20 yards out, right? Yeah. But either way, you're right there. You're feeling the hit. You're feeling the bite. You're hooking this fish onto your stringer, right? Like you got this
on
chain hooked to you.
Yeah.
You caught your one of 4 walleyes for the night. That's our limit here in South Dakota is 4. You hook them up, you drop them, you stare at this fish right there. it's your swimming around your ankles while you're trying to catch the next one. And it's probably one of the better times of the year to hook up on a trophy class walleye. Before they're spawned out, they're at their heaviest, they're girthiest.
Dusk is setting in, the big moon starting to pop out.
Right. Yeah. You know the deal.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. It's the best.
Yep. It really is. Yep. Some guys I'm sure wait all year for hard water, right? Like they love fishing in the shack and chasing them and getting on top of them. But for me, it's definitely wader fishing is where it's at. You can just move around, be so more versatile where you're fishing, how you're fishing, the presentation, whether you got wind coming in on you and they're feeding on you or you've got slack water, you can go a little top water on them to get a bite, close to dark. And you can kind of pinpoint the times of day, right? Like, the last hour, half hour before and after sunset, these fish are they're just going to be on the chew, right? they there's no other way to say it. They're
boys,
hungry.
Get down here. The chew is on.
Come on. It's like closing time at the bar. Just get down here. This is the time you need to be here. They're hungry. They're hungry.
Oh, that's great, man. That's great. Well, Tim, I'm gonna wind her down, man. It's been a lot of fun. What else are you looking forward to coming up? You said you got that tarpon trip. That's going to be epic.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. I can't wait. Yep, that'll be here. We're going down on Cinco de Mayo. We're going to go, spend a little time enjoying the nightlife of Florida and then just going all out that weekend, chasing some tarpon. Hopefully we can put, something 150 pounds close to the boat.
Let's go. I'll be waiting for the photo.
Yeah, man. I'll send you some snaps.
That's great. Anything else you're looking forward to after that in the outdoor world here? I imagine you're looking forward to some of that ice melting.
Yeah. Like I said, the dam's about to break when it comes to snow goose. We're on the snow line right now. If you get half hour south of Watertown, they're about out of snow, and we got lots of it. So these birds are about to roll in here in full force. So the next 30 days is going to be pretty hectic when it comes to the snow goose rolling in and the opportunities that are going to give us to pursue these birds that we've been waiting for all winter and should have been here a month ago, right? Usually you can always set your watch by St. Patrick's Day here in South Dakota, which almost 3 weeks ago now. But you could come hell or high water, you can almost always set your watch by St. Patrick's Day, give or take 5 days. The bulk of the migration when it comes to spring snow geese is going to be right here. We're way behind the 8 ball right now. Everybody's itching, for spring fever here. So that's what I'm most looking forward to right now is these snow geese are going to be rolling in. We're going to get a chance to cut loose on them, head down to Florida, do some tarpon fishing, and then this summer, getting staged up here for archery hunting, getting trail cameras out, getting all the scouting done to hopefully lead into, I'd love to shoot a velvet buck. Still something I've been chasing the last few years. Haven't been able to seal the deal on a trophy classy one yet, but hopefully that'll happen. So that's kind of, for me here in South Dakota, that's what I'm looking forward to here for the next few months.
Love it, buddy. I'm looking forward to it for you too. I hope hopeful to get some pictures here of some tarpon and some fish and some deer next fall.
Yeah, absolutely. And you got to make some time to get your ass back out here. Go get on some walleyes.
Absolutely. All right, Tim, wind it down, man. Appreciate you taking the time to talk, man. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, good to see you, Will.
All right, take it easy, Tim. And there you have it, episode 68 of Buffalo Roamer Outdoors with Tim Brown. The show's brought to you by Fischel Paddles, FischelPaddles.com, SRE Outdoors, that's SREgear.com. Go check out BuffaloRoamer.com if you want to learn more about what I got going on, the podcast, guided canoe trips, all kinds of fun stuff at BuffaloRoamer.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast that you're listening to now, and we'll catch you next time. Enjoy the outdoors and go get some fresh air.